Hey everyone, do you know the difference between Bob Ross and Eric Brennan? Bob Ross has talent.
He had hair, too.
That too, Josh. Now back to the show.
Episode 149 of the RPM podcast. It is Labor Day weekend, and it's actually Monday, Labor Day, 9/2/2019 at 8:51 p.m. I'm Scott Riggleman at the Edge Divorce Motorsports Studio in Manchester, New Jersey. My brother Tim Riggleman, spotter for Eric Goodell on the Modified Tour. Just got home from a weekend of racing in Oswego. He's in Farmdale, New Jersey. Tim, how are you?
Good. I'm ready to go. I was at a place with had no cell phone service for 3 days, so I got a lot to talk about.
It's tough there in upstate New York with the cell service, huh?
Yeah, was there.
And we got Josh Matthews, former racer of the number 57 Factory Stock at Wall Stadium, now full-time camper. He went away camping this race, this Labor Day weekend, no racing for him, so he's not going to be much help for the show.
I also had
Josh
really poor cell service at my campsite, so.
Did you really?
Yeah.
So you're really far behind on information on racing then, huh?
Yeah. I'm here
Okay,
as
so we're
kind of
gonna jump right into
your audio guy only.
Yeah. So we're going to jump right into it. Unfortunately, we got some bad news from the motorsports world. Not so much racing around here, but there was a couple of deaths we just want to touch on real quick. Jessie Combs' death. She was trying to set a world land speed record. She was really trying to break her own speed record. And I really didn't. I don't know. Lately, when there's deaths in motorsports, I really try not to pay attention to it or try to solve what happened or anything like that. I didn't even look up any pictures or for videos or anything. I just seen that she died trying to break her own record. Josh, you know anything about it?
Other than it was a jet car, no, they didn't really release a whole lot. They said it's still under investigation, like what actually, happened. I mean, obviously it was, wasn't like a typical, downtown car crash. So the investigations, like she was doing something incredibly dangerous, and something went wrong. So they're trying to look into it, but it's not like they're going to blame anybody. I mean, it was just something that unfortunately happens. It's just, I mean, it sucks because I know she was her own, TV personality. A lot of people knew her from Mythbusters. I actually remember growing up watching, well, I shouldn't say growing up. She was, like a year older than me. But
I think she was 39, they said.
I saw 36. There were a couple conflicting things on that. But
okay.
Either way, not too much older than me. And back when she was like hosting Extreme 4x4 on was it Spike TV or whatever it was at the time, their Power Block with that guy Ian, where they would build all those off-road, vehicles and stuff like that. Then she did the all-girls garage thing, and just she did a lot of TV work, and she was popular. She was really likable and excited and genuine in her love of racing and motorsports of all types, and I know she'd even gotten in some otherwise fairly minor motorcycle accidents and stuff over, either getting hit by somebody else and dumb things like that. But, always looking for, a new thing to do. She actually got an Index of Effluency Award for racing the 24 Hours of Lemons years ago. I know there was a picture of her down in Wildwood, New Jersey, from the Race of Gentlemen. That she ran.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
She did all sorts of forms of racing then. Well, unfortunately, we lost Jessie. She was a beautiful girl, and it's just a shame that we lost someone in motorsports. And we did lose another person. Josh, you're going to have to help me out with this because I don't know much about F2, but there was a death in Formula 2.
Yeah, I got to bring up the name again because I lost it here. But Antoine or Anthony, it was at Spa-Francorchamps or whatever, however you pronounce it, in the infamous El Rouge corner, and it looks. I mean, there was some video on it. Not, I don't know. There wasn't like a lot of replays or anything like that, which is probably for the best. But I can't tell if he just lost it or if there was contact. There was a video that was circulating on Facebook. Somebody was facing the other way, looking at the cars going down the track, and you just heard the tires screeching, and all of a sudden in the corner of the frame, the car's into the wall and then gets basically T-boned by another car coming down trying to avoid the wreck. So, I mean,
Yeah,
whether it
it's always
was
scary when that happens.
oh no, it was frightening. I don't know if it was the initial impact or that second impact. Both looked like they were pretty violent. So I'm not going to speculate. It was a very intense crash and obviously a very tragic loss. I know there was they were doing an interview with Lewis Hamilton when it happened, and he saw something on one of the big screens at the track there, and he actually paused and go, "Oh God, that's horrible," and could see how bad it was. So I mean, he actually basically stopped mid-interview to react to how bad it was. So is Anthony Hubert. Yeah, it was. It's just sad. Apparently, he was friends with Leclerc and a few other Formula One drivers, and I don't know his stats or anything like that. Eric Brennan would probably be better at that than I. But
Do you have an age for him, Josh?
No, I don't.
We don't like talking about stuff like this too much, but we just wanted to mention them. So rest in peace, Jesse Combs and
He
Anthony
was
Hubert.
22, Scott.
Oh, Jesus. That makes it even worse. I have a son that's 21, so that kind of hits close to home. And Jesse hits close to home because, my wife is a female race car driver and Jesse's a female race car driver. So rest in peace to both of them, and hoping for better days in motorsports in this weekend, or in this last week is with having these two deaths. We're going to move right on to Darlington. The NASCAR race down at Darlington. Of course, it was the big famous throwback weekend. Everybody loves it. Everybody gets into it. I even seen a couple people like in the grandstands with the old disposable cameras and stuff like that. Even like the fans get into it. They dress it like in the 80s and the 70s. They bring old coolers in. They try to find like old Coke bottles to bring in, and they're using old cameras and old binoculars. It's pretty cool that they do that. Unfortunately, it was like a 3-hour rain delay. They got hammered with rain down there right before the race was getting ready to start. And I just want to talk about the crowd. The crowd was great. Don't get me wrong. But I just want to mention that, NASCAR, of course, is bragging it's sold out. NBC Sports is bragging it's sold out. So, it's easy to sell out a place when you remove grandstands. You know what I'm saying? And so I did a little search on it. Darlington never really had the 100,000 or 150,000 seating capacity like a lot of the tracks did when the NASCAR boom was going on. But they were at 58,000 at one time. So I did a little research. In 2018, they fixed the place up, and what they did is they did remove several thousand grandstand seating. But what they also did is they made their seats wider. So that also took away a lot of seating. So they're down to about 47,000 from 58,000. So there's 11,000 less seats there. So if you really want to call it a sellout after you take 11,000 seats out, then that's fine. But I just want to point it out there because sometimes NASCAR and the TV try to, brag about something. But I'm like, what do they think? The viewers are stupid? We know you took grandstands out. Of course it's sold out now. And then it really wasn't sold out. Another thing they were doing was, they kept saying, and I caught it too because, and I'm not putting down NASCAR. 47,000 people saw a lot of people at a race. Don't get me wrong. But what I'm saying is, if that 47,000 people were at Bristol, like in the spring, everybody would have been saying, "Oh, NASCAR's done. NASCAR's dying. Look, there's only 47,000 people at Bristol. Holds 150." But then there's 47,000 people at Darlington. Everybody's praising that it's sold out and NASCAR's on the boom again. It's just, you got to know your numbers a little bit. And they kept saying it's sold out, but they kept saying that the reserve grandstand seatings is sold out. So the general admission wasn't sold out. You still could have got a seat. There was some empty seats along the bottom and stuff like that. But all in all, who cares? It was a great race, a great crowd, and a great crowd on a rainy day. Usually the rain like that kills you. There's a storm in Florida. They're right in South Carolina. They're only 2 states away from Florida.
Everybody's trying to get out of there.
Yeah, everybody was trying to get out of Florida. Plus, they were saying that South Carolina might have been getting evacuated today. That's why NASCAR pushed so hard to get the race in last night. Some people were saying, now it's almost midnight. Let's cancel this. Tomorrow's a holiday. Let's cancel this and this race at tomorrow, But the reason NASCAR pushed to get it in is because, the next day, South Carolina could be in an evacuation mode. So they were trying to beat the storm as well. And they did. They did get the race in. unfortunately got on real late. I only lasted about 50 laps and fell asleep. But the cool thing was it re-aired again today, so I did watch it today. It was a good race. I love Darlington. It's cool. I love the history there. The throwback thing's cool. Couple throwback schemes I want to talk about. My favorite one on the whole weekend, but it wasn't in the Cup side. It was on the Xfinity side, was Michael Annett. Michael Annett had the #1 Baby Ruth car, the old Jeff Gordon paint scheme. And it was cool. He had Baby Ruth on the side and everything. It was cool. I really, really liked that one. On the Cup side, there was a couple of stuck out. I mean, Kurt Busch's, I didn't know what his throwback was, so I looked it up. His throwback was just to his personal 1969 Camaro he drives on the street. It was the orange with the white SS racing stripes on it and stuff. So his car was painted like his personal car, which I thought was pretty cool.
Who had the Mark Martin throwback?
That was Ryan Newman. He had but it was different colors. Yeah.
I saw a couple people complaining about that.
I mean, it was a cool looking car, but did it look like a Mark Martin car to me? Not really, because it went with a different color.
The stripes were the right angle. That's about it.
Yeah, the stripes were at the right angle. The number was the same font. I like when they do a throwback. It really, really looks like the car. I mean, the Denny Hamlin one was awesome. The FedEx one that looked like Darrell Wattrom's Western Auto car.
Okay.
That was spot on. That thing really looked cool. What was
the one attempt that I like? It didn't come out looking that great after they tried, but the attempt was the Stroker race car.
Oh yeah. That was on a Rick Ware car. I thought that was pretty cool, and even the crew guys had like the fire suits like they wore in the movie. Yeah, that was, I like that one. It was pretty cool. But there again, the only thing that made it not look like the Stroke Race car is the sponsorship. There is different on the side of the car.
Yeah,
oh, those damn sponsors.
It just came out to look like a red race car with yellow lettering on the side of it.
Yeah, but when you saw the crew standing next to it in the crew uniforms, then you can tie it all together. It worked pretty good. The other one I liked too was the Lenny Pond car. That was another Rick Ware car. It was painted like Lenny Pond's car, his Pepsi car, like way back in the 70s and 80s. That car was cool too. I mean, there were some good ones, and then there were some that missed the mark. And another one I really liked, and it was different because it wasn't a throwback to a NASCAR car. It was a throwback to like an SCCA car that Dan Gurney drove, and that was the car that Michael Diabendetto was driving.
Okay.
That thing looked really cool. It had the Toyota on it. It was like the old SCCA car that Dan Gurney drove. That thing was really cool. I like that one too, and that was different because it wasn't a throwback to a NASCAR car. But other than that, the race was pretty good. Tell you what, Jimmy Johnson was running good in the beginning of the race and in the middle of the race, but he did fall back in the end, and I'm not sure what really happened there. You want to hit us with the top 10, the RPM podcast top 10 of that NASCAR race, Josh?
Absolutely. So Eric Jones with the win. Kyle Larson, second. Kyle Busch, third. Kevin Harvick, Brad Keselowski, Clint Boyer, Kurt Busch, Matt DiBenedetto, Paul Menard. Wow, I haven't seen that up there in a while. And Austin Dillon.
I tell you just mentioned those two guys in 9th and 10th. Paul Menard had a beautiful car. Throwing back to an old Wood Brothers car. That car was really sharp looking and looked exactly like the car. And Austin Dillon had a cool paint scheme of his grandfather's car with the black and gold Molly car. That car looked awesome too. But yeah, it was a good race. It was enjoyable to watch. Darlington was great. Kyle Busch finished third, and he even drove around the last 2 laps with a flat tire because he was pushing so hard to catch the leader and try to win the race. He blew it right front and hit the wall, and he just basically scraped the wall around for the last 2 laps and still finished third.
I mean, at that point, it's worth it, right?
Yeah, that's what he said. He's either gonna win the race or because if they get spaced out at the end, they had like a couple second lead over each spot. So he said he could push hard to try to get the winner. He said the worst comes down worse. Even if he hit the wall and got a flat, he knew he could still finish in the top 5 because like 6 was real far back. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
He pushed his paint scheme was awesome too. It was the Snickers throwback to Bobby Hillin. When Bobby Hillin drove for the Stavola brothers, and the Stavolas are based here in New Jersey. So that had a little local flavor to it. That car looked awesome too. That was a cool throwback paint scheme as well.
I gotta wonder how much it costs to do all the fire suits and everything for that. I mean, I get the design work, paying the artists and all that, and then getting the car wrapped. Yeah. But how many times you have to rewrap a car anyway because of contact or whatever? Fine, but to redo fire suits and everything.
Yeah, I mean, not all teams go all out when they change their fire suits and everything, but some do. Some do go all out. And
I mean,
you
I
know,
I think it has to
appreciate
do
it.
with the sponsor. If the sponsor's like, hell yeah, let's do it, then they do it. You know?
yeah, exactly. I think when the sponsors are all in, that's when they go for that. But I mean, even some of the NASCAR wives really get into it. They'll dress like, they'll frizz their hair up and wear like neon colors, like it's the '80s, and big hoop earrings and stuff like that. Like everybody gets into it. It's pretty cool. Alex Bowman was another one. He
Bowman Gray.
yeah, Bowman Gray, Alex Bowman Gray. He 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 had a Tim Richmond paint scheme, and he went all out, like wearing the Folgers fire suit and like the mustache, and like he was even doing like poses, like him sitting next to the car, like Tim Richmond used to do with his fire suit, like zipped down in the front and the wavy hair and the big old sunglasses and stuff like that. It's a fun weekend. It's definitely, when I'm finally done racing, if there's still NASCAR going on, that's how long I'll probably be still racing. But one of these days I want to turn into a race chaser and stop racing, and that's one of the races on my bucket list. Tim, it's a race Dad used to go to. I mean, my dad used to tell me and Tim that he said that the Southern 500 was the biggest race of the year. It was bigger than the 500. Everybody went to the Southern 500 rather than the Daytona 500. My mom has old 8mm videotapes of my dad down there, and like camping in the back of his truck in a cap, and he used to have a big parade right on the racetrack, and my mom has all videotape of that and stuff like that. And I mean, even talking to Dick Barney, I do a lot of towing for him, and he'd tell me the same thing. He's like, Scott, Daytona 500 wasn't always the biggest race of the year. The Southern 500 was the big one.
That's awesome.
I just want to touch base on the Xfinity race. I didn't see the Xfinity race. I was away. I was unloading my dirt stuff from Friday night, getting ready for Saturday to go to Wall Stadium. It didn't come on till like 4:00. By then, we're already at Wall Stadium. Unfortunately, Denny Hamlin won the race, and unfortunately got taken away in a DQ situation, which I hate that when it happens. It was a height infraction. I don't know if the car was too high, too low, or whatever it is, but he ended up getting the win taken away from him, and Cole Custer ended up getting the win. Other than that, I don't know too much about the race, Josh. But if you want to hit us with the top
I was just
10
going to
that.
say that, I mean, I like that at least they do it quick. So it's not
Right.
like we found out on Wednesday that he got DQ'd. I do appreciate them, be like, nope, that's it. You're DQ'd and you don't get the win. And, I mean, like you said, unfortunately and all, but at the same time, at least they're going to be quick about it. And I appreciate that. So, anyway, so for the top 10 there, Cole Custer, as you mentioned already, Tyler Reddick, Ryan Blaney, Christopher Bell, Dale Jr. Yee-hoo!
Oh yeah, that's right. We're talking. That might be Dale Jr.'s final race, and he, that a lot of people put Dale Jr. down, but that's pretty impressive, man. The guy hasn't been in the race car in a long time. Just survived the plane crash 2 weeks ago. Jumps in the race car in the first time in a very long time and gets a solid top 5. That's a pretty damn good run.
No, it's not. I'm not saying he's a bad driver. I just like making fun of the fact that so many people worship him.
Well, I'm going to start worshiping him because obviously he proved he really is redneck Jesus to walk away from that plane wreck with nobody getting hurt. I mean, he has to be somebody special because I seen that plane wreck and I don't know how they survived and not even got a scratch on them.
Yeah, no, you have a point. Following him was Chase Briscoe, Jones, Gregson, Allgaier, and Cindric round out the top 10. But yeah, no, I mean it's good to mention. What was Junior's paint scheme?
He had one of his father's or grandfather's old ones. It was like all blue with a yellow number 8, and it was a Hellman's car.
Okay.
Hellman's mayonnaise.
Oh, I gotta love the condiments.
His was cool, and really that's really kind of like why he raced these last couple races, because when he did announce his retirement, he still had like 5 races left for Hellman's in the Xfinity series he had to do, and this was the last of the 5. So now
the way he talked in the interview that I heard on the way home from Oswego, I was under the impression he had one left, and he was hoping to be the end of the year.
Oh, really? So we still might see him race Homestead?
Yeah, he was. That's where he wants. He said he wanted to be a part of the end of the year ceremonies and stuff. So he wanted to. Yeah, maybe it's not. Maybe it's not one of the 5. Maybe he's trying to get one more out of him.
Maybe he's trying to do one more. I think this was the last race he was contracted for, and anything he does from here on out, he's just doing on his own.
I wouldn't pick Homestead for my last race, though.
But you know what? A guy like him, I hate to see him just walk away. I know he's afraid of getting hurt again. He had some head injuries, but he obviously, I mean, he looks great. He doesn't look like he's old enough where he should retire. He still is driving great. I mean, yeah, don't race at the couple of them. Maybe just do like 10 Xfinity races and pick tracks where you know the race kind of gets spread out and there's not a lot of wrecks and stuff like that. And
I thought he was fun to watch on some of the road courses. I mean, if he did something like Sonoma, that would be cool.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think just what Tim said. I don't think we've seen the last of Dale Jr.
No, I don't want him gone completely. I think, I think it's totally fine that he retired from the full-time deal. And if he wants to, pick and choose at his leisure, but he's still obviously involved because he's doing the broadcasting work, so he's going to all the tracks anyway.
Yeah.
So
how cool would it be seeing him in like the truck race at Martinsville and stuff like that? Like,
I would watch him in a
these,
truck, yeah.
Yeah. Pick 5 or 6 Xfinity races, that he likes, and he likes the tracks with history, like Darlington and Martinsville and stuff like that, and do a few truck races too. It'd be cool seeing him at a truck race.
Yeah. He did. What was that race? Was it an IMSA race or whatever where he backed it into the wall and caught fire?
The Corvette.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, he was doing stuff outside of NASCAR.
Yeah. Well, that was with him and his father. That was something they were doing together.
Yeah.
All right.
He can keep doing that kind of stuff. I think it's great, and it will help his podcast, so he doesn't have to talk about what condiment to put on a hot dog.
Him and Elliot Saller.
He stole my idea.
Why? What condiment does he put on a hot dog?
He likes mustard, but somebody else was he was kind of ragging on one of the female producers on the show, I guess, because she only does ketchup, and he thought she was nuts.
I mean, one thing they do kick around, Elliot Sadler and Dale Jr. They kick around about putting a little late model team together for him and Dale, and doing some races that at tracks they race at, like Dale Jr. says he wants to go back to Myrtle Beach. That's where he started late model racing. He wants to do a few big races at Myrtle Beach. And, of course, Elliot Sadler is from Emporium, Virginia, so he wants to race at, like, Southside and Dominion and stuff like that. So they are talking about putting a little late model team together and each of them doing, like, 5 races apiece with it. So maybe that's something we will see next year. It'd be cool to see. Tim, how cool would it be to see Dale Jr. down in, like, New Smyrna running a super late model or something like that?
Yeah, it would definitely help the sport, if anything else, Put some people in the grandstands.
Yeah. Well, we'll get him in a modified.
That kind of wraps up our NASCAR segment. Right now, we're going to switch over to IndyCar. We did get some bad news from IndyCar as well, and I know this is pretty touchy for Josh and his family because they love this race, but they did announce the 2020 IndyCar schedule already, and Pocono, unfortunately, is not on it this year. They're moving the race from Pocono to Richmond, and if you read between the lines and Nick, the president, I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name, Idaleski or something, Nick Idaleski.
Okay.
He's the president of Pocono Speedway. He put out an open letter to the fans, which is really cool. And it really, shows that he loves his fans and he wanted to explain the situation. He said it wasn't really because of the injuries and the wrecks and stuff like that. It was more of the business side. They couldn't come to a financial term of doing it. And if you read between the lines, the very last thing he said was, and I just want to thank ABC Supply for their sponsorship of the IndyCar race, and they were not able to continue if we were able to do it next year. So it's almost like they didn't have a title sponsor, so they didn't have the money to do it, and it seemed like IndyCar wasn't going to budge on with the sanctioning fee and stuff like that.
Right.
It seemed more like it was a business decision the way I read it.
Well, that ties into the what you had mentioned before about Foyt, right?
Yeah, and I was going to get to that. And another thing that ties into it, then a couple of days later, AJ Foyt and Larry Foyt announced that ABC Supply is pulling out of AJ Foyt Racing, so they're losing their longtime sponsor. So it seems like the Pocono IndyCar decision came down to title sponsorship and ABC Supply pulling out of the sport, not just with Pocono, not just with the Pocono race, but with AJ Foyt Racing as well. So I don't know. Unfortunately, the IndyCars aren't going back to Pocono. Kind of cool they're moving to Richmond now. I think that'd be pretty cool watching those cars at Richmond.
Yeah, but I think it's good. I know you said it's not because of the injuries so much as the financial end. But anybody that thinks it's related to injuries, you're going to a track that's going to be pretty much just as dangerous, if you ask me.
I think they're all pretty much dangerous in IndyCar racing.
And I was just going to say, like, everybody was saying, oh, my God, we got to get away from Pocono. The IndyCar's wrecked in the first lap, and people went into the fence. Well, I'm watching this road course race at this beautiful racetrack in Portland. I'm assuming that's Portland, Oregon, Josh, that the track is in Portland?
I'm guessing so.
It's a beautiful racetrack. So, you know, I am sitting on the couch.
Yeah, Oregon, yeah.
Pouring rain here. I'm like, all right, well, the IndyCar race is on. This is cool. I'm going to watch a little IndyCar race. And this way, when Josh talks about IndyCars, I know a little something. They throw the green flag. They go into the first corner. They all wreck, and it's a road course, you know. So don't blame Pocono. They just did the same thing on a road course, you know.
Typical IndyCar race.
There was a few other good wrecks in it.
I'm showing
too,
six cars out because of contact. At least 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. 105 laps down. So yeah, that was the beginning.
And we mentioned it too. I mean, they tear stuff up at Indy every year with the Indy cars. You don't see them wanting to pull that race. So it wasn't because of the wrecks and the injury. That is very unfortunate. But if you read between the lines, it was more with that title sponsorship pulling out. Because like you said, Josh, the last race you were there, the crowd was good. And I mean, it looked like
if you want to blame it on crowds, Pocono is not the race to cancel because they've had one of the best crowds that IndyCar has seen. And it's been consistent over the past couple of years. And now, I think part of it is, like, you talk about sponsorship and how important it is in racing. Obviously, NASCAR is kind of, you know, the golden example of how the sponsorship works. But IndyCar, it's important as well. But you have these sponsors that are more, you know, high-end business people, not end users like me. Like, you know, you don't have Tide, you know, something I'm going to use in my washing machine sitting behind me here.
Yeah. It's more like technical companies.
You have NTT Data and ABC Supply Company. I mean, I'm sure they do great stuff, but I don't own a business that I'm going to order stuff through ABC Supply. If I did, I'd be like, oh, cool, they sponsor that. I'll try to give them some business.
Well,
but
when I drove in the trucking industry, I hauled copper flashing and sheeting for roofing, and we would deliver to ABC Supply companies. They're basically like a supply company for like roofers and construction guys and stuff like that.
Almost like an 84 lumber kind of a thing, right?
Exactly. And they're big. They're all over the place. You know, I deliver to a lot of them in the tri-state area. Unfortunately, but then again, they've been sponsoring AJ Foyt forever, and we talked about this a long time ago. You know, sitting down and talking with Jeff Gradovich about sponsorship. I remember Coors Light sponsored all the divisions at Wall Stadium, and one time, and you know, for like 5 or 6 years, Coors Light, you know, every division was the Coors Light division. We had Coors Light girls in Victory Lane and Coors Light on the car. Well, one day they up and pulled out, and we didn't have them back the next year. And I asked Jeff, I said, Jeff, what happened with the Coors Light people? They weren't happy. He's like, you know what, Scott? They've been here 5 years. They're pretty much sure anybody that's going to walk through these gates already know what Coors Light is because they've been looking at it for 5 years. Now they move on to somewhere else. You know what I'm saying?
It kind of plateaued.
It plateaus. So, you know, they walk in and like, all right, well, this guy's drinking Coors Light beer. This guy's drinking Coors Light beer.
We gave everybody
here a free Coors Light shirt, a Coors Light hat, Coors Light stickers. They've seen the Coors Light girls a million times. They get their pictures with the Coors Light girls and pictures.
Oh, you can't see them enough.
Yeah, we have stickers on all the race cars here. We've done everything we can do here. Now we got to take the sponsorship somewhere else. So now it's going to be kind of curious where ABC Supply ends up. If they move over to NASCAR, maybe they move over to NBA, maybe they move over to hockey. You don't know, but they might move it around a little bit.
I could see them sponsoring.
We've been in IndyCar 10 years. Everybody that's involved in IndyCars know what ABC Supply is. Now it's time to move on. But going back,
what do you think is going to happen to Pocono? They took 2 major hits this year.
Well, I was just going to say that now. Now they're only down for 1 big race weekend from 3 big race weekends. Tim, how would you feel about, I was kind of daydreaming about that today too. How are they going to fill this gap? I mean, they had an air show there. I don't know if that was a success or nothing, but I'm thinking they can have a NASCAR weekend, but with like the K&N East and West and a tour modified race or something like that there. You know what I'm saying? You know, kind of how maybe they can do something like the race you're going to next, that Musket 250 race where they lost the cut race. So what the track did is they just created a bigger event with the smaller divisions. You know, maybe Pocono will dream something like that up. I don't know. Another question I wanted to ask Josh, we already kind of determined that it wasn't because of the wrecking and the injuries there. But if it was, how would you feel, Josh, if they, at Pocono, instead of running the trial, they moved to the road course?
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, it's difficult to see when they're, in turn two anyway from the grandstand. So what difference does a road course make?
Because I always thought about it, it's tough to do the cups on the road course because there's a lot of camping going on in the camping area in the infield where the road course cuts through. Where the IndyCar, there is not a lot of camping, and they still have the whole thing in the infield, and they can do what like Daytona does for the 24 hours race. Now the fans can set bleachers up in the infield by the corners and stuff like that, and they can have their Ferris wheels and roller coasters and stuff like that and make it like a fair
I'm not sure.
Like,
I mean, like for IndyCar, I'm not sure if it's really wide enough for what they would want to do there. But for modifieds, you could, when you're talking a little bit lower speeds, you could probably make it work. And if you did that, and I was combine it with a few other, we'll call them lower divisions, and now add to it kind of what they did for IndyCar with the pit passes and everything. So, because that's harder or a lot more expensive if you do it for a NASCAR weekend. But if you do it a lower,
well, I'm just saying that if you wanted to bring the IndyCar on the road course, you're saying it's not wide enough, they could spend the money and make it wide enough.
I'm sure they could.
They could fix it up where it's IndyCar friendly. I'm not saying put the modifieds and K&N cars on a road course in the middle. I'm saying run them on the 2.5 mile, even if they just make them like 50 lappers or something like that. And then everybody's gonna say, no, Scott, they're gonna be way too fast on a 2.5 mile track. I mean, when me and Tim were kids, the modifieds raced on the 2.5 mile track, and I love going to that race. They can always restrict or play them, make a gear rule.
You got that. You got the safer barriers now. You have a lot more going for you to make it safer. I'm not saying nothing can happen. I'm not saying it's foolproof, but overall, it's probably a lot safer than it used to be. And I think it would be great. And if you combine the fan experience and advertise it as a NASCAR weekend, let fans get in there and really get up close and personal in the garages and stuff like that, I think it will it fully replace what they had? Maybe not, but it's something to fill at least partially.
Yeah, they got to do something on a race weekend. I mean, don't get me wrong, that track makes money during the week anyway. Like I said, I used to work at the stock car racing experience up there, and they rented the track to a tune of like $8,000 or $10,000 a day, and there's a lot of that stuff going on. They have a lot of stuff there that we don't know about, like car club stuff and go-karts and stuff like that. I mean, there is something always going there, but they need those big money weekends, you know what I'm saying?
If they need a break on the taxes, maybe they could raise cattle on the infield or something.
Well, they already, or across the street, they already started that solar farm and everything like that, so they already got the break there. No, I'm serious. They did. They started a solar farm, so, and I mean, going back to the history of that racetrack, do you know what that place was before they made it a racetrack?
I have no idea, honestly.
It was actually a spinach farm.
Okay.
For the Navy, that right in Tobyhanna in Pennsylvania, right up 380, I think it's 380 up there, or 390 that cuts off of 80. There's the Army Depot up there. It was a farm. They grew spinach there and like lettuce or something like that for the soldiers. Huh. That's what it was before they turned it into a racetrack. So you're not too far off with that farming idea, Josh.
I'm just saying, if it helps them with the tax break or something like that, so that, I mean, you got to do what you got to do.
Solar farm. They do get a huge tax break with that solar farm across the street.
Good.
And I tell you what, these kids that took over for Joe Mattioli when he passed away, his grandkids, they're really smart, and they're really fixing the place up, and I love everything they're doing. And I'm telling you right now, I know they're sitting around a table somewhere trying to figure out what their next step is for a couple big weekends. I'm real excited to wait and see what their 2020 schedule is with these races missing now. Yeah. Who knows? They might have like a Outlaw Enduro Series race on the 2.5 mile. We might have to fix your car up, Josh, and get you out there. But Tim, here we go. Tim, me and you love the 3/4 mile track at Pocono. We always wish they would have left it there because it makes the facility more usable for different race divisions. And it's just weird that they take away the IndyCar race at Pocono from their 2.5 mile racetrack and bring it to a 3/4 mile racetrack at Richmond. It's almost like, man, if they would have left that 3/4 mile track there, they could just put the IndyCars on that,
Yeah.
So,
well, either way, I will say it's a shame that they lost it. I mean, look, change has to happen here and there. Honestly, I'd love to see IndyCar try Daytona. I'd love to see it. Look, is it incredibly dangerous? Probably, but I mean, how much more dangerous is it than Indy or something like that? I mean, I'm just here. You have more banking at least.
I'm just mad. Like, this is like the third attempt that they've had CART or Indy, whatever you want to call it, come to Pocono and like have a 5 or 6 year stint and go away and come back, go away and come back.
And
It's a shame
Nazareth has
because
gone.
when the Matty always built that track, they didn't build it for NASCAR. They built it for Indy. It was designed. They were calling it the Indy of the East. They took turn one from Trenton. They took the other turn from, I think it was
Milwaukee Mile, I think.
The Milwaukee Mile, and the other one is Indy. So they took 3 distinct turns from IndyCar tracks and made what they thought was the perfect IndyCar track.
Because it's challenging in every way, yeah.
Yeah, the Indy of the East. They made it geared towards Indy fans and Indy cars. And I think the first time they quit racing there, they blamed the boilerplate wall. They didn't want to race because of the boilerplate. Then NASCAR came in and raced with the boilerplate for a while, and then they went to save a barrier. So the Indy cars came back and they repaved the track for them to make them happy. And now they're gone again. I don't know. I can't wait to see the 2020 schedule. Probably won't be out until after Christmas or New Year's. And I just want to see what Pocono does. And I think they'll have a surprise for us. I think they'll do something with another weekend up there.
I hope so.
What else can race there?
I do hope so. So let's go to the RPM podcast.
Josh, real
top
quick
10.
before we get off that, now that the Pocono race is going away and your dad loved going to that race, would you and your dad now maybe go to Richmond?
That's a bit of a trip. I mean, I thought 3 hours was a bit.
Yeah, I know. You don't only go over 2 hours, but Richmond, Tim just said, Josh, it's only 5 hours. It's no big deal. I tell you what, sometimes it is only 5 hours. Sometimes you hit traffic in Washington, D.C., and it gets to be 7 or 8 hours.
Yeah.
5 days.
Yeah. But now Richmond's not that far away, but I mean, you would have to make it a 2-day trip, drive down the day before, spend the night.
And then
whatever.
take off Monday or something. And that's the thing. It's hard to.
When we went to Richmond with John to race, we drove to Richmond, raced, and drove home.
Yeah, no, I've done that too. That one time I went to go watch you and John race down there. I actually left here with my arch truck, drove to Richmond, watched you guys race with the modified, then left out of Richmond with Nancy and my cousin Georgie. We drove from Richmond to Franklin County Speedway over by Roanoke and raced the next day, and then drove home after that. You know what I'm saying? But Tim, you are right. You can do it in a day, but sometimes that Washington, D.C. traffic kills you. Another thing you could do, Josh, if you want to go to Richmond race and make it a family trip, it's not far from that. What's it, King's Dominion, the amusement park?
Yeah.
You can actually spend a day at the amusement park with your kid and Lisa, and then the next day shoot over to the racetrack.
I was going to say, you try to get my dad on one of those roller coasters. Have fun.
But we'll wait and see what happens there. And real quick, too, before you give the IndyCar top 10, are you pulling that up, Josh?
I have it up, yeah.
All right. I just want to mention one thing. AJ Foyt doesn't seem too worried about losing his sponsorship. He was almost talking, he's always arrogant anyway, but he was almost talking like he already has something else lined up. He already put it out there. No, we're definitely racing next year. We're definitely going to have 2 cars, maybe even 3. It seems like he has a replacement sponsor already in mind. And another thing he said I never knew, he has 2 race shops for that race team. One's right in Indy, and the other one's in like Houston, Texas or something like that. He's like, no, and I'm going to keep both my race shops open here in Houston or somewhere in Texas. I forget where it was. And I think it might have been Austin, Texas. And we're definitely keeping our shop open in Indy. So he doesn't seem phased by it. He said him and Larry got it under control and they're going to keep competing. He did mention, though, he's not 100% sure what drivers he's going to have next year. And right. Tony Kanaan's one of his drivers, and Tony Kanaan's one of my favorite drivers, and I'm hoping he's sticking around. But it's almost like AJ was saying, he might have a couple of funded drivers that he's going to put in the car. And it kind of seemed like that.
Well,
so
do
that's
you think Kanaan's getting close to retirement?
He's got to be. He's in his last couple of years,
I mean, the name's just been around for a while, and he's one of the last names that outside of the heritage names. I mean, there's not much. But so actually, one thing I would love to go to, and it's always easier to watch an oval race because you can see like the whole track. But I would love to go to Circuit of the Americas. And in Austin, yeah, I would love to see a race there. That track looks so cool, and it's such a new facility. I'm sure it's still pretty nice. But that's a haul to head out to Texas.
And I did see someone saying, well, maybe IndyCar can move to that Brooklyn course where the Formula E races, but I doubt it.
No, they'd have to widen that by about 5 car
Yeah,
widths.
it looked tight with the Formula E cars. I mean, that was one of the suggestions people thought maybe it was going before Richmond was announced.
Which,
but
before
all
I
right,
forget,
Josh, this is what the RPM podcast top 10 for the IndyCar race.
before I get to that, before I forget, there was a replay I watched from the latest Formula E race. It was a lap or two of I'd have to look who it was again, going at each other for the lead, and they were bumping. He was putting the nose to the guy's transmission block in the back there and giving him a couple shoves or whatever. He ended up getting him in the right rear tire and gave him a flat. But I mean, it was really fun to watch those two guys, bumping and grinding to just fighting for position. So that just again shows Formula E is quite possibly the future. I just wish they'd give him a little more space to race. That said, the IndyCar RPM podcast top 10, Will Power gets the win. I mean, again, we're looking at how many, 4 or 5 cars out on the first lap. Scott, really quick for you, Marco Andretti finished 13th.
And he was running pretty good. He was running in the top 10 for a while when I was watching. I'm like, all right, well, he might make the RPM podcast top 10 this week. And then all of a sudden I noticed he was a lap down. So I don't know what happened there, but he lost a lap somewhere, and I didn't see where he lost that lap. But he was running better than a 13th place finish.
Yeah, he was the third car a lap down.
Yeah.
Average speed, he was about a mile an hour slower than the leaders, but
but
not
he was
terrible.
At the beginning of the race, he was running well, and they were talking highly of him. And then I'm like, oh wow, he's going to make our RPM podcast top 10. And then next thing I looked up, he was a lap down and struggling again. But unfortunate for Marco.
Yeah, what are you going to do? So we had Will Power with a win, Felix Rosenquist, followed by Alexander Rossi, Colton Herta, Joseph Newgarden, Spencer Piggott, Simon Pagenaud, Matthias Laced, Sebastian Bourdais, and Charlie Kimball, who actually doesn't have all that many points. I haven't seen his name doing much of anything. He's got a total points of 87, whereas Marco Andretti has 271 points. It looks like. But yeah, so he had a good day. But sometimes taking advantage of people like Graham Rahal and Hinchcliffe and Hunter Ray getting taken out on the first lap. So. And then Sato back in 15th there.
Yeah, he must have been involved a little bit in that first wreck because he was like there was a bunch of people out, but he was like 2 laps down like right away. So he must have got nicked or something,
And it's hard to come back from it sometimes. It just is,
especially on a road course,
Oh yeah.
All right, let's move on to the local section. I see my brother nodding off over there. He wants to get.
I did want to give the quick just because Formula One was at Spa. And we did have that F2 death. But for the Formula One results, we'll give a quick top 5 for that. Charles Leclerc, Lewis Hamilton, Bottas, Vettel, and Albon are your top 5 for that. No reason to go much farther than that because it's kind of the same how it always is. But
any chance of Formula One going to Pocono and making a big weekend over there?
No, they don't like banked turns, remember? They're afraid their tires aren't going to hold up.
Hey, but maybe Formula E will have a weekend there. You just mentioned that.
Honestly, you could do Formula E on the road course. That would be good. But the thing is, they always dreamed of that New York skyline in the background and stuff like that.
I'm not saying get rid of New York. I'm not saying get rid of New York, but
no.
as well.
It's just I don't think it's they want that new kind of hipster.
They want all the city feel to it. They don't want the feel to it.
Yeah, they're not trying to get campers. They're trying to get people that are in the city on cell phones all the time, who are constantly on Wi-Fi, which I don't know. Is that the demographic?
Since my brother's falling asleep, we're going to move to the local, and we're going to let Tim talk about his great Oswego weekend. Tim, from a bystander sitting at home going on Facebook, it looked like you guys had perfect weather up there for racing for Oswego.
It was beautiful. The weather was, you couldn't ask for it. It was like 68 degrees, 70 with a cool breeze. It was, and Josh just said campers. The place was packed with campers. They had a lot of camping there.
So was my campground.
Most of the people, most of the people were there for the super modified race on Sunday, the big, the big Budweiser race. But
I think Kimmy Ling was there, right?
Yeah, with Joey
she was
Payne,
yeah.
he debuted a brand new race car. I think it was beautiful. I don't know where he finished though. I know he didn't qualify that great. But Tim, when did you get up there? Did you get up there on Friday?
No, we went to Syracuse. We stayed in East Syracuse on Friday night.
Because I didn't know if you knew it, but there was a huge street stock race there on Friday.
We did know that after the fact. Yeah, there was.
That would have been cool if you would have made it up there for that. You know, they said there was over 40 street stocks there trying to qualify for 30 spots. Yeah. It was a Dave Lund Memorial race, and I know Chris Zacharias had something to do with promoting it, and it ended up being a great turnout. So you just drove up Friday and got to Syracuse, Tim, and then you called it a night and then went back, headed over to the track Saturday morning?
Yeah, we got there about 9 o'clock Saturday morning. He didn't have to be there till 10:30. And then I went into the pits, did the spotters meeting, and practice started at 1 o'clock. I went up in the grandstands at 1 o'clock, and if anybody's ever been to Oswego knows that the backstretch grandstands are quite tall. I got up there at 1 o'clock. I didn't come back down until after the race at I don't know, 8:30 at night.
Oh my God!
Do they have bathrooms up there?
No, I didn't have to go to the bathroom. I got myself trained for that.
God.
So is that where all the spotters were, or did you
yeah.
come over to the designated spotter stand?
No, that's where you have to be.
You spot from the back straightaway there?
Yeah.
How does that work out?
Oswego, you can't see the whole track. Where we sit is probably the best place to see. Most of the track you can't see very well from the flagger stand going into turn one. So they kind of go down into the hill, down the hill there a little bit. You can't see there. But besides that, that's the only place.
So do you warn your driver to say, listen, I have trouble seeing from
the
flag
he knows.
stand? Yeah.
He knows when we go there. We've had spotters in the past up in turn one. We just didn't have the manpower this year to do it. So, and we got lucky. There was never a problem in that corner for anybody. So we got lucky.
Now, Tim, does it ever get like weird? Like you're saying on the backstretch there. I mean, I'm not calling you dumb by any means or anybody, but does it ever seem a little off or backwards when you're used to looking one direction for turn one and now it's turn
now
three?
You're calling turn three as turn one. You know what I'm saying?
It actually happened to me this weekend. There was an accident in turn two, and I actually told Eric turn four, and he was in turn four. And he's like, "There's no accident over here." I'm like, "Yeah, I meant the normal turn four to my left."
Well, Tim, a lot of people know that your modified team up there debuted a brand new car. It was a beautiful, brand new Fury built race car. What was Eric's first impression of that car?
It was okay. We were pretty good right out of the trailer. We ended up fifth in time, and practice went rather smooth. We tried some different things, and Eric liked it, and then they just tried to make it better, and it responded, which is good, but it made it more uncomfortable. So they put it right back to where it was, and like I said, we qualified fifth. We were running good right where we wanted to in the race, and he was running like fifth or sixth, just riding around. And a yellow came out. It was only like lap 45 or 50, which is early for us to pit. Unfortunately, everybody behind us pitted. So we were the last car out there that didn't pit. So we lost track position because like 5 or 6 of those guys got by us. So when it was time for us to pit, we were too far back to make it back up to the front. Some guys did make it back up, but we just didn't get all the way up there. We ended up 7th. I think we should have been 5th at the end, but last couple of laps, we got a couple guys got by us. I think Chuck Hosfeld had a good car. It would have been Chucky. Would have been a great race between Chucky, Matt Hirschman, and the 51. Chucky unfortunately ran over an air hose or something in the pits. You got to come back. You got to come back in when you do that. So
and just so people know at home that Chuck Hosfeld was the substitute driver for Jimmy Blewett that has a broken ankle now. He was driving the Joe Bartuccio number 21 that Jimmy drives, and Jimmy couldn't go because he broke his foot, and he suggested, let's call Chuck Hosfeld and see if we can get him in the car. And they said Chucky was running great in that car up there.
He was very fast. And Justin Bonsignor ended up winning, but Matt Hirschman was around all over him in second. The place, Scott always asks how the place was, grandstand-wise. that place holds a lot of people.
Yeah, big grandstands there.
Yeah, all through the front stretch and back stretch. Was it full by any means? No. Was it half full by any means? No. It was a little less than half full, which I consider okay for there because it's so big. They did pretty good on the infield. The infield is pretty packed between the super modifieds and the modified street stocks, like Scott said. Joey Payne did end up getting the best appearing modified.
Did he really?
Yeah, so which is good for Joey because Joey built a lot of that car himself, if not the whole thing. But he had that car down at Jimmy and Rob's for a while working on it, and he really took his time with it. So I'm glad he got that. That was something that I'm sure he's proud of. While I was sitting up in the grandstands, my fellow spotters take very good care of me. Timmy Salamito spotter, Danny Case bought me up a cheeseburger, Josh. It was called Cowboy Burger. It had blue cheese on it with barbecue sauce and onion rings and tater tots.
Okay.
That was very good. Very good.
Tater tots on it or tater tots on the side?
On the side.
Okay.
Tater tots, believe it or not, up in like that, I guess in upstate.
They're good up that way, right?
Yeah, that's like, you don't get French fries when you go to the restaurant.
Don't they call them like salt taters or something like that?
There's a couple places that call them something different. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not even called tater tots.
When we went out to dinner Friday night, we went to a steakhouse, a local mom and pop steakhouse, which was very good. And they didn't even have French fries. You got tater tots or mashed potatoes. They didn't even have French fries.
Yeah. They don't like the French up there, I don't think.
There's a lot of French Canadians at the racetrack, that's for sure.
Tim,
oui.
Tim, another thing I always noticed popular up that way, but some people are telling me the one that I used to go to is not even there anymore, but Tim Hortons. Is there still Tim Hortons right there in town outside the racetrack?
I didn't notice it, no.
Yeah, I heard they're closing up too, and I really like Tim Hortons.
I did see some Tim Hortons on some of the signs on the freeway, on the highway. So they're all still there.
I know there's one when you cross over from Pennsylvania into New York, right before you get to Binghamton there, there's a Tim Hortons there. That's usually where I would stop for a Tim Hortons coffee or, some type of pastry or something like that, So where'd you guys finish, Tim?
Seventh.
That's a good run for a first time. No leaks, no nothing with the new car? No,
the car was fast right out of the box. Eric was comfortable in it. That's where we ended up. We ended up seventh. Like I said, we should have been fifth at the end.
Just following along on Facebook. Some people were saying that the 51 chopped Matt Hirschman. Matt Hirschman had a wheel on him, and the 51 came down. Some people saying Matt Hirschman was running a little rough. Did you notice anything that Matt Hirschman did with like Woody Pickett or anybody like that? Or
no, I didn't see any of that because unfortunately we weren't up there that close where I could see it, but. I'm sure Matt Hirschman didn't run anybody dirty. He never runs anybody that dirty. Who knows? I mean, it's going for the win. It's a tour race, so anything's possible. But I didn't see anything out of the ordinary, and I didn't hear it. There was no spotters yelling at anybody, or anything like that. So I don't think it was anything too brutal.
Did you notice anything else on the food menu there other than the Cowboy Burger?
Yeah, actually, they had quite a few different burgers. They had homemade macaroni and cheese, which seems to be the new thing at all the Speedway. Everybody's got macaroni and cheese now at the Speedway.
It's not just for kids.
Yeah. And Gary that went with me, he actually tried hot dog because Joey Payne said on our
track steaks,
yeah, that they were pretty good. Gary's opinion was it was just a normal hot dog. Now I don't know if Joey knows. Sometimes when you get certain concession stands, you get certain food. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know if they went to the same one and got the same one. They actually had how they have like Johnny's and WO's funnel cake wagons at Wall Stadium. They had a fried fish one at Oswego behind the grandstand. And the line for it was incredibly long, and they were selling like fried fish sandwiches, and it smelled really good and they looked good. A lot of people were eating them, so. That must be the specialty there.
Another cool thing when you're at that back grandstands up high like that, you can see one of the Great Lakes. Were you able to see it that day, Tim?
Yeah, it was super clear. You could see almost all the way across it. Yeah, I saw a couple sailboats out there. And then if you look over the other corner, there's one of them Chernobyl pipes of whatever you want to call them things.
Cooling tower.
Yeah. I was told as long as there's smoke coming out of the top of it, you're good. If it stops smoking, you better get the hell out of there. So luckily it smoked the whole time I was there.
How did the facility look at Oswego, though? Are they keeping up with it? Is the place going to be around for a while?
They did that fixing up of it for the Super Dirt Week.
Yeah.
But they haven't done any, like they were supposed to do everything in stages. Like you always say, they do everything in stages. Well, like stage 3 and 4 hasn't happened yet. They haven't done anything different since I was there last year. You know what I mean? But it's holding up. The paint's everything's painted and nice. And the bathrooms are old, but they weren't terrible. Bathroom I was in anyway. They had showers and everything in them, so they did put showers in them, like they said. It looks a lot better than it did before they did it. They're maintaining it, if that's what you're asking. They're not rebuilding anything. They're just maintaining it.
You never thought about staying right there Saturday night and then going to the Super Race on Sunday?
No, I'm good with that.
Nah.
I saw they had Supers there the day we were there. Between practice and the 60-lap race they have, that's good enough for me.
So what did you do after the race? You want to talk about what you did after the race?
Yeah, nothing against the Supers, anybody. They're just not my cup of tea. I don't much care to stay and watch them. And then after the race, Eric Flores was up there with Tommy Farrell, and Tommy had told me the week before at Wall Stadium I was more than welcome to stay at his place in he has a place, it's about an hour from there. And I told him, well, let me see what my buddy wants to do. And it ended up that Gary wanted to stay. So we ended up staying there and went. So most people down here know, I guess, in Wall Stadium area that Tommy married Richie Evans' daughter, Tara, and they had a vacation home. And it was actually, I asked Tara when we were there, it was built as a logging hotel. It was built in 1901.
Oh, wow.
And the way that Richie Evans got it is he was racing up there and somebody owed him $14,000 because of like fixing his race car or buying a race car or a motor. She didn't remember or was never told what it was, but this guy owed Richie $14,000 for racing purposes, and he didn't have it, so he gave Richie the hotel for the payment of $14,000. And then Tommy ended up buying it from Billy Osmond, who became partners with Richie. And he bought it further, and they've had it ever since. So they still call it the Freeman Hotel. That's what it was called. It's a three-story square box building with a bunch of hotel rooms. It's really cool.
So do those people that work at logging companies stay in there, or is that what it's?
Yeah, they're all over the place. When me and Gary, we did a lot of just riding around, seeing different sites, and like every town had like an old Western hotel in it. Like, if you lived in Farmingdale, there was the Farmingdale Hotel. If you lived in, everyone had one of these hotels, or at least one of them. And now they're all fixed up as like bed and breakfast, and
right.
Snowmobiling's really popular, the Tug Hill region. And Gary, the guy that went with me, he's a big time fisherman and hunter, and he reckoned that the Salmon River runs right through there. And apparently that's like one of the biggest, if you're a fisherman for rivers, that's like one of the biggest ones that you want to go to. So it's crazy. There was a little mom and pop restaurant. It was funny. Me and Gary were sitting at the intersection, and here comes a family of a husband, wife, and like 3 little kids. There were 2 big side by sides going down, and then the little kids all had side by sides behind them, following them down the road. Like they don't even use cars up there. They all ride around on side by sides.
Up in the winter, the cars got to yield to the snowmobiles. The snowmobiles have the right of way up there.
Yeah, so
if you see them,
good.
I know you see them.
You can see them. They got flags and lights and everything else. So it was a nice place, and Tommy Farrell's fixed it up really nice. And you can just the stuff on the wall, pictures of Richie Evans, and
Did you actually stay there?
Yeah, we slept there.
When Saturday night?
Yeah.
So you went there after the race Saturday night and spent Saturday night there and left Sunday morning?
Yeah, we got there about, I guess, 9:30. Not 9:30, 10 o'clock, and we stayed there the night, and we got up, and I got up early because I wanted to sit out on the porch and just drink coffee out on the porch. So I was tearing and the kids were up, and the kids know me because they sit by us at Wall Stadium.
Right.
Tommy's little kid, little daughter. She's like 2.5, 3. She rides a quad like nobody's business. Like she and she's like, "Hi, Timmy." I'm like, "Hi." She goes, "Where's Tizzy?" And that's Tizzy's my oldest daughter. I'm like, "Oh, she's not here." And so she came out and sat on the porch with me. We just sat out. We literally 3 cars went by the front of the house in like an hour. Just one of those kind of things. And Tommy's got all the good stuff to play with: quads, snowmobiles, junk cars. He took junk cars for a drive. He's got a racetrack there for the junk cars.
How much property does this hotel sit on? Do you know?
He said 62 or 64 acres.
Wow.
Oh wow! I didn't know he had much of that property up there.
How much
fun would that be, Josh? Huh? A hotel room with a hotel with a bar and rooms and 62 acres to play with.
Ideas are already going through my head.
Josh would still find something to complain about, but
of course I would.
Scott, you would love it up there. They got trails for the Jeeps. Me and Tommy took me and Gary and Reese for a ride. We were gone an hour and never hit the same trail twice.
What were you riding in?
He's got one of those 4x4s. He's got a Polaris. I think it's a Raptor. I think it was called.
Right.
Beautiful thing. Fast. They were real fast. It was fun. You can drive. We went all over the place.
All right, so that wraps up Tim's Oswego weekend. It sounded like he had a great time. I love Oswego. It's like Tim said, it's great history of racing. The fans are a little bit different up there with the super modifieds. It almost feels like you're at an IndyCar race almost with the super modified fans up there. But I do love going up there. The town's great.
The town loves the racetrack.
Yeah.
They put signs up. There's welcome race fan signs all over the place. The town actually puts checkered flags up like a parade on all the light poles and stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, no, the town's into it. I mean, even some of the roads are named after race car drivers. Like there's the Jim Champagne Boulevard and all that stuff like that. It's kind of cool. It's a race town, Josh, but it's also a college town. There's also a college right there in Oswego, and you hang around the racetrack, and it's all there's bars and bowling alleys and everything, and restaurants and hotels right around the racetrack. It's all race fans. You go a couple more blocks into the town, it turns right into a college town. It's all like 20, 21-year-old kids walking around and stuff.
Drinking.
Drinking. Yeah, it's definitely a great racetrack. If anybody listens has never been to Oswego, pick out a weekend and go up there. I guess pretty soon.
How far of a drive is it?
That's like 6 hours, right, Tim? Oswego?
Yeah, 5.5, maybe 6.
From Farmingdale?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, from Howell Township, yeah.
All right, so a little extra. Add another 30, 45 minutes.
Yeah, you live a little further down, yeah. It's worth, if for Josh, to go to what, for a modified race or a super modified race?
I don't know. Let's make it a weekend.
Well, this weekend's the perfect weekend, the Labor Day weekend.
Well, yeah, that makes it cool. But for you, like, say if you and your dad, if you told me you wanted to replace your modified Pocono weekend with what weekend would it be? I don't know if this would be one of them because it's definitely a different track. But I don't know if it'd be the one to go to, but it wouldn't be a bad one.
Okay, I mean, because I'll enjoy it. Like I know I'm not a big modified guy, but I'll still watch.
If they had the modifieds and the street stocks on there on one night, that would be awesome. Because those street stocks up there are cool.
I would see that. Yeah,
they have a really cool street stock division up there.
All right, so moving on into local, what do you guys want to talk about first? I mean, I went away real quick on Friday. Me, Nancy, and my friend Jason, we drug our Enduro cars up to Big Diamond. They had their big weekend up there, the Cold Cracker weekend. On Friday, they had like a 2,000 to win sportsman race, 40-lapper, and they had street stocks and road runners and Enduro cars. Thankfully, I was able to win the race and then drive home. I had to drive home late Friday night, got home about 5 in the morning. On Saturday morning, got a couple hours sleep, woke up, unloaded all my dirt stuff, loaded all the asphalt stuff up, and went over to Wall Stadium. Wall Stadium was a little light this weekend. I'm telling you, all the racetracks around here were a little light.
Well, Well, we had
there's
a
so much
couple
going
big
on lately.
weeks the past few weeks.
Yeah, we had a couple big weeks, and then Labor Day weekend, the car counts were down. We only had 16 factory stocks, Josh. We get anywhere
That's
from
the lowest
24
I've seen in a long time.
That's the lowest we've been all year. We're down to 16. But like Tim says, it's the time of the year where kids are going back to school. People are getting their last weekend vacation in at the beach. They're at the point now where maybe they wrecked a few times or blew a motor or a couple of transmissions, and they're a little down on money, and they're not in the points. So they pick and choose their races now. You know what I'm saying?
There's that, but let's also be honest. I mean, you're talking 16 cars. That's still like 3 or 4 times what the late models have been for a while.
Oh, I know.
So it's still not a bad car count.
The car counts were down across the board at Wall Stadium, but not only there. But I checked other tracks that they're down. This weekend's a weird weekend. Labor Day weekend's a weird weekend.
Well, some people like you, they want to get away if they're not running for points and they got family stuff or whatever. Then there's nothing wrong with that.
A lot of it has to do with people got to buy school clothes and sneakers for their kids.
Exactly. Haircuts and all that stuff. No, they're all gearing up for school. Tim's exactly right. We had 16 factory stocks. I know there was only like 8 or 9 sportsmen. 6 or 7 late models. I don't know how many modifieds were there, but they were a little down too. But the racing was still great. I mean, we had a great time.
14 mods or something like that, I thought I saw.
Yeah, all the divisions were down. The one cool thing, there was only 4 divisions there. There was still a decent crowd, but not as good as the last couple of weeks. We were done by like 8:30, 9 o'clock, and the people were in the pits already. And when that happens, Tim can tell you all the time, I always stick around if we get done early because there's a lot of people that come in the pits from the grandstands because it is so early, and you get to meet new fans and everything like that. And a lot of the kids are still awake and they want to see the race cars and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So we stuck around. Races were done by 9. We still didn't leave there like 10. We stuck around in the pits talking with everybody and hanging out and everything. It was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, I had a bad night. I had a good night going. My car was really good. Again, I finished second in the heat race. I started 6th in the feature. I was up to 4th, and I was right with the leaders. It was Nick Kilmer. He was leading. Johnny Carpenter was 2nd, and Tom Rajowski was 3rd. And Elliott Wall was 5th. I was 4th. Elliott Wall was 5th. We were all running nose to tail and having a real good race going on. We go down to 3, and Johnny Carpenter gets sideways, and Tom runs into him. Next thing I know, I'm trying to slow down to miss it, but I'm sliding too. And what happened is he lost his radiator cap going down the back straightaway. And he dumped water all over the track, and we all slid in it. And he took a real hard hit. Johnny Carpenter took a real hard hit in the wall, and the wall had to be repaired and all that stuff. His car was bent up pretty bad. Tom's car was okay, I think. My car was bent up pretty bad, but I was able to continue. I did have to pit to get my rear bumper cover tore off because it was hanging off. And that was on like lap 19, so we went green like lap 20. So I only had 5 laps to get back up there, and I was able to get it back up to 9th.
So did you have to go back to the rear for that?
Yeah, I was in the fence with everybody else.
Okay.
Right up into the wall.
Well, because I always wonder sometimes when I've seen it work both ways. When somebody didn't stop, but they hit somebody during a wreck, and they had a part hanging off their car, or they had a part of somebody else's car stuck on theirs, and they have to go to the pits to get it pulled out.
It was my tailpiece, and under the red flag, I could see my little spot mirror that it was sticking off. So I knew I was going to have to go in the pits to pull it off. So to tell you the truth, as soon as the yellow came out after the fence was prepared, I just went right in the pits. I never waited for them to start the lineup or anything like that. I knew I had a pit anyway, and I knew it.
You were part of the yellow technically, so
yeah, I was definitely part of the yellow. But it is funny you mentioned that because Wall Stadium does have a crazy rule. If there is an accident and you come to a complete stop, they consider you part of the accident and you go to the rear. So the whole time I'm like wrecking and sliding, I'm saying, don't stop. Try to keep going, So it's kind of a bad thing, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's dangerous because
I've
people
seen
don't want to stop.
Certain
they want
drivers
to plow through it and keep moving,
I've been front and center watching somebody literally push through another car just so they didn't come to a complete stop during it, and I completely agree with you. But it's one of those things. They try to make it a black and white rule to some extent, so that way you can be like, oh no, I did this. I've seen you at other times, pretty much rolled down to the infield after getting caught in a wreck, but you were able to just kind of inch it along and not come to a stop, and that saved you your spot.
But I was sitting pretty in that race. It was like lap 19, I was 4th. I mean, Elliott was right on my bumper. I was right on Tom's bumper. Tom was right on Johnny Carpenter's bumper. Johnny Carpenter was right on the leader's bumper. We're all right there, And I tell you, my car was good. I felt like I could have moved up a couple more spots, but it wasn't meant to be. So I went from having a good night to finishing ninth and losing some points again to Elliott. But it was a fun night of racing. I'm not really complaining. Unfortunately, my frame is bent again a little bit, and it is going back over. Yeah, it's last time it was the right side frame rail. This time it's the left side frame rail. So it's going back to Timmy Steffen's Surfside Body Shop.
So did you hit the wall with your left side, or did you hit another car?
I never made it into the wall. I actually hit Tom Rajowski, the Blue 91. When he hit the wall, I hit him. So it was a pretty solid stop.
Okay.
It just bent my left front horn a little bit in front of the steering box. I mean, when I went back out, the car was running great. I was passing cars on the outside, working my way back up through the field with the 5 laps that were left. I don't think it's anything handling wise. He's just going to Timmy was at the racetrack, and I went over to the grandstands and found him and asked him if he could come look at it. And he came and looked at it. He's like, just bring it over Tuesday morning. I'll pull it out a little bit for you. So I already stripped like the nose piece off, the bumper off, stuff like that, so he can get in there and do what he has to do. It's actually going to be there tomorrow by 9 a.m.
Scott, I just want to say I absolutely admire your dedication to all of it. And I'm being completely sincere. Like, you come home 5 a.m, get 2-3 hours sleep, then you're getting up, getting the other car ready. You're unloading cars, loading other cars, getting to the track, and then you're there for how many hours, and then you stay late to see the fans. I mean,
that's Sunday morning. I was back up. Unloading the asphalt stuff, stripping my car down, ordering parts, and getting everything ready. And Josh, I tell you the truth. Oh, and I had to fix my dirt car. Even though I won the dirt car race, the last couple of laps, the steering got real weird and tight, and I'm like, oh my god, the power steering's going bad. Then in Victory Lane, when I get out of the car, I look at my left front wheel. It's tipped in. The A-arm broke during the race. The cross shaft for the A-arm
on the left front.
The bolts go through. On the left front, it's the weirdest thing ever. It just broke, and I never hit nothing or nothing. It just broke from fatigue,
Yeah,
old A-arm and stuff.
Is Big Diamond like a rough track? I know Grandview can get rough.
No, Big Diamond's an awesome track, but I don't know. It's been on there all year, so who knows? Who knows? What, it could have been fatigued or cracked from a hit or something. I don't know. But it broke the last 2 laps of that 50 lap race.
How was the crowd at Big Diamond? We never said.
We were there on the Friday when it was the sportsman portion of the Coal Cracker race. It was good. Big Diamond gets good crowds there. It was about half full. But then yesterday was the Coal Cracker $17,000 to win 72 lapper for the big block modifieds. And I watched video of it today, and the place was absolutely packed for that race. I don't know how many modifieds that they had there, but the place was packed. But going back to my dirt car, not only did I win the race, but on the way home, the A-arm was broke. So I loaded that up on the flat. I towed 2 cars up there with the flatbed. I put my car on the flatbed, and I towed Nancy's car backwards on the wheel lift.
Okay.
To get 2 cars up there, because my Uncle Danny's not around to drive it for me anymore. He moved out to Washington State. So I towed both race cars with the flatbed up there. So on the way home, the A-arm broke more. So like the car was like getting lower. The tire was cambered in more towards the motor. So we stopped at a rest area or something to check the straps and tighten. Now I can see there's like brake fluid on the bed. What happened was like the A-arm was broken moving. It caught the brake line coming off the master cylinder and pulled the brake line out of the master cylinder.
Oh my God.
So now the brake line's broke. So now Saturday morning when I unload it, now I can't drive it around the yard and move it out of the way. So I put it on the one side of my driveway up on a jack stand saying, all right, well, Sunday morning I got to fix this car to move it around the yard before it. So Sunday morning, not only did I did all that racing Friday and Saturday, Sunday morning I was out my driveway at 9 o'clock in the morning, putting an A-arm on the left front of that car, cutting the brake line back, double flaring it, putting it in, bleeding the brakes to get that car running. So then I get that car running. That car's all back together now and running great. And I drive around to the back of the yard to get it out of the way to load the asphalt stuff. Nancy comes out. She's like, Scott, tomorrow I might go out with my girlfriends for lunch all day. I'm like, oh, you're not going to be home tomorrow? Meaning today, meaning Monday. And she's telling me this on Sunday. She's like, no, I'm not going to be around on Monday. I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm thinking, well, there's an Enduro up at Hudson, New Hampshire I can go to if Nancy ain't going to be around. And we have no plans on Monday. She's going out with her friends. I'm like, I'm going to load the dirt car up and go up to Hudson, New Hampshire and race, And then as I dug into what was broke on my car, the ratty, it was weird. Like, the car didn't look bad, but I'm going to need a new front bumper and a nose piece and the little fancy grill things we cut and put in the nose piece. And I'm like making a parts list and going through the catalog of the money I got to spend now to get these cars fixed, So it started adding up. Now I got to make another spare arm up. I got to buy a cross shaft and bushings and stuff like that. Nancy's car at Wall Stadium, she came into the pits and she's been complaining the last couple of weeks her car's tight. And I took it out and I was turning it a lot in the center of the corner. And I'm like, all right, yeah, it's tight. So we've been freeing the car up for her and it's been getting better for her. And she's like, Scott, the car felt really, really weird. I'm really turning the car a lot. And I never have to turn a car like that. I'm like, well, I'll make a bigger swing at it. I'll free it up for you. Then I go to load her car up on the flatbed, and I back up, and the car's like wandering all over the place. I'm like, this ain't like a spring thing. There's something wrong in the steering. So I have George wiggle the steering wheel, and I go under her center link's bed where the center link goes through the steering arm off the steering box. It was rocking back and forth. So I got to buy her center link for her car. I need a cross shaft, bushings, ball joint. It just started adding up where it's $400 or $500 worth of stuff I got to buy this week to fix all the race cars. And I'm like, you know what? I really wanted to go to Hudson for that indoor because they had an indoor up there, 500 to win. And my dirt car was done. I was going to throw a sway bar on my dirt car and go up there. Then I'm like, you know what? I just can't afford it right now. Just like, if the cars weren't wrecked and needed stuff, I would have went, but I just financially I couldn't do it. So
how far of a drive would that be?
Hudson from my door to there is 300 miles, like 6 hours, but I was going to go. I've done it before. I've left here 5 o'clock in the morning. The racing starts at 1 up there. I'm there by 1. You know, the door is usually last in the day, you know. Run the Enduro and drive all the way back home.
Wow.
And another reason I didn't really go up there, they were calling for rain up there, which was no big deal because they're going to run the Enduro rain or shine. So, but I just didn't feel like standing out in the rain all day up there, and it did rain up there. They did race in the rain up there today.
Okay,
but I didn't make it to that one today. But some people, because I was on Facebook mentioning I might go, and some people were asking me at Wall Stadium if I was still going, and I was saying yeah, I probably will go. And then when Nancy said that she had nothing planned on Monday and she was going to go out with her girlfriends, and I was definitely going to go. But then, like I said, I started adding up all the money I got to spend to fix these race cars. I'm like, I just don't want to. Because that would have been a $500 trip. That would have been a $500 trip by the time I paid tolls and fuel and get in and enter the race. And
oh, yeah. No, it adds up.
Fuel,
now,
that would have been a $500 day to get up there and race and come back home. You know, I was going to go by myself, too. I was just going to throw the car in a flatbed, some spare tires, and go up there, you know. Me and my brother have some friends up that race up that way. They would have been there to help me if I needed help, you know.
Now, you mentioned on the factory stock needing a new bumper. Are you talking about the more stock bumper part, or are you talking about those tubes that come with that kit?
I run the MD3 double steel tube one. It fits right behind the nose piece. They're $119.
Okay. So you need the now, does that come welded together for you, or you got to?
It's all welded together, but it does come in 2 pieces, so it's easier to ship for them. You just, once you get it on the car, you just slip it together, and I just weld it together. It only takes a minute.
I was just curious.
They're really nice, and the reason I do run them, they are strong, but they're not super strong. They are made out of thin tubing to crush, so you don't have your
frame damage.
Bend like that's that's the crush zone. But unfortunately, this time the bumper crushed and my frame bent, so it didn't really work for me this time.
It made it less bad or less bent.
Yeah, I ordered it. Tomorrow morning, I already got a whole list made up. I already ordered a new. Oh, well, that's the other thing too. There was nothing wrong with my radiator. Like nothing ever hit my radiator. But then when I'm working on the car, I noticed, you know, like it never leaked at the track or it never leaked, you know. But when I'm working on it, like towards the end of the day, I noticed it started dripping water out of it, like right where I have it mounted, like on the bottom of the radiator. I do have like rubber under there, so there's some cushion to it. It must have just moved a little bit and hit something. It's just leaking a little bit and it's dripping.
Did you check your cap just to be sure for next
week? Yeah. I made sure it wasn't. Oh, yeah. Well, you know what? Back in the day, the art shop, we used to run safety wire on radiator cap so they didn't fall off, you know. But I don't know. I just make sure it's locked down. Johnny Carpenter, if you know Johnny, his race cars are immaculate. They're beautiful, well-built race cars. I don't know what happened there, if the cap failed or if they just didn't lock it down when they put it on, but oh well, stuff happens, you know, and unfortunately. But I do want to congratulate Nick Kilmer. Nick Kilmer, rookie season, first year racing. He was the one I beat on the last lap last week for the win. He did start on the pole this week again, and he was able to hold on for the win this time. For him to come back from getting second last week by losing at the last lap, last corner, he did rebound strong, and he did get his first win. And Nick is a listener of the RPM podcast, so everybody from the RPM podcast wants to congratulate you, Nick, on your first career win. And the first one's the hardest one to get, and you got yours in your first year of racing, so I see a lot more wins for you coming in the future.
Yeah, it's got me beat by a long shot. Actually, it was funny.
Took me 8 years to get my first win. Yeah, and
Wow.
I tell a lot of people start racing and they get frustrated that they haven't won in a year or two or a couple of years. I just look them straight in the eye. I said, you know what? My very first year, I almost had a race one, just like Nick did. I led 24 laps of a 25 lap, and Carl Thomas passed me like on the last lap, and I finished second. And I'm like, this is going to be easy, man. I already finished second. I almost had this race one, blah, blah, blah. And then from that day on, it took me 8 years to win my first race.
Wow.
So
Well,
there's anybody new to racing and they're finishing fifth, sixth every week, and they're starting to get frustrated. Just keep working at it. The wins will come. You know.
the neat thing about Saturday night, they had at least three first-time winners.
Someone said they were all new winners, but I think that kid in the late model, he won at the beginning of the year, like Chris Silvestri or whatever.
Yeah. I that's the one because Gravat's press release here says that it was Andretti, Kilmer, and Martino were the first-time winners.
Yeah. When we left there, someone was saying that they were all brand new winners. But I remember Chris Silvestri in the '74 late model. He won in the beginning of the year. That was a race Tim talked about where Shannon Mondo had some type of failure and he dropped out. And Tim said as soon as everybody saw Shannon drop out of that race, they all started racing harder. It was their chance to win, you know. And Chris won that race. So he got his second win of the year in the late model race this week, and I think he's leading the points as well. So he's having a great year in his rookie season as a late model driver.
Yeah.
All right, Josh, you want to hit us with the RPM podcast top tens of the race for Wall Stadium?
The top 10 for the factory stocks was Nick Kilmer, as we talked about, from Howell. Elliott Wall, who there's another story we're going to get into about him. Brian O'Shea in third, which is a strong comeback for him. Kevin Flores, Joe Monjo, Tim Majek, Billy Booth, or both. I don't know. I seen it. I don't know. Joey Helberg, good to see him back. Some guy, Scott Riggleman, and Robert Stack from Airplane.
Where did Nancy finish?
14th.
14th.
She on the lead lap, though. She finished 14th on the lead lap. Like I said, she had that center link. She said she was getting nervous towards the end. She's like, she was steering the car, and you know, normally you go in the corner, you just turn the wheel like a quarter of a turn. She's like saying she's turning it like a half a turn to a three quarters of a turn. I'm like, oh wow, the car's really, really tight. I said, I'll take a shim out of the left rear spring next week or whatever. Like I said, I go to load the thing up on the truck. I couldn't even make the thing go straight to get it on the truck. I'm like, oh boy, this has got other problems than that. You know.
So what happened in the modified racing? I saw a bunch of pictures of
it looked like a few cars tried to go one wheeling.
Yeah, I don't know. I just got done with my race, so I didn't see the beginning of the modified race. But yeah, I know Jason Treat's car came in pretty wrecked, and he was up on the wall and stuff like that. I'm not really sure what happened there. Oh, another thing I want to mention too at Wall Stadium, Andrew Krause changed his motor right there at the racetrack. He had a motor problem like in practice, and he had it changed in time to time trial. Like that's how quick they changed that motor.
Which is incredible. Although they're a little easier to access on the modifieds than they are on.
Easier to change it modified, but still, I'm telling you, they changed it in like an hour. You know, that's pretty good, even though it's a modified and everything. And I don't even think they had a motor there. I'm not 100% sure they might have had a motor in their trailer, but someone said that Tommy Martino ran back to his shop and got them a motor and bought it back. So they were pulling the motor out, and then Tommy showed up with a motor and they put it right in.
which is only a mile down the road.
Yeah, which is only a mile down the street, but still, they saw how to go run and get it. So yeah, they got that done real quick. It was pretty cool watching a team like that just change the motor right at the racetrack. You know, another cool thing that happened, Billy Booth, or both, he had transmission troubles.
He snapped the torque converter bolts, right?
Yeah, and that's common in our division. You got to check the torque converter bolts in these cars a lot. Originally, they said he blew his transmission up, but it was the torque converter bolts broke out, and he actually ran to Tim O'Shea's O'Shea Auto Repair, him and another guy, and they actually, I don't know if they changed the torque converter or just put in new bolts or whatever. But
what I read was they actually got it up there and they swapped out the torque converter and then got it back to the track.
Yeah.
And
yeah, quick. He was back in time for the heat races. And the weird thing was he was starting right in front of me in the heat race. I'm like, oh boy, I hope they got everything fixed right, because he's starting right in front of me, you know. But no, that was pretty cool. They loaded the car up and they got right out of there. They ran to Tim O'Shea's shop, which is only a couple miles down the road in Wall Township. Put the car up on the lift, fixed the torque converter, loaded it back up, came back into the track, and they made it back in time for the heat race.
I'll say O'Shea, Tim gets, he's you know, he cares about his son. Of course, he wants his son to win and all that. But he's really there for. He's helped out a lot of guys over the years. He's helped me out a ton.
He
I can't
sponsors
even.
me. He helps me out.
Yeah, he sponsors a lot of guys. He sponsors the whole division. It's, I mean, his love for the sport, and I mean, he cares about it because, like, when he's hot, he's hot. You know, when he's upset about something, you know, he's got emotions, but he still is there to help out all these drivers, and you can't say enough about him. Probably one of the nicest guys I've ever met, and you know, honestly, I gotta give credit to you too, Scott. You've given me I don't know how many tires over the years, so that's kept me going for.
You need to come back racing because sometimes I'm throwing these Hoosiers away, and I'm like, man, I wish I had someone to give them to. It'd be perfect for Josh.
I should.
All right, hit us with the top 10, Josh. It's 10:15 already. I want to start finishing up here.
Okay, so the top 10 for the modifieds. Chris Andretta, first-time winner from Neptune. Kenny Van Wickle, Derek Hopkinson, Stephen Reed, Eddie McCarthy, Joey Merlino. I don't know if he's related to Josh Merlino at all. I haven't seen him in a while. Kevin Davison, Robert French, Tom Catanzaro, and Andrew Kraus with that new untested motor. Good to see Robert French back out there as well. I know he was there for the Cliff Kraus Memorial race. We didn't get to talk about it too much. The sportsmen, I don't know how many cautions there were, but Tommy Martino getting his first win from Farmingdale. Jarrett D. Giant Tommaso, Kyle Sisko. Hey, how you doing there, buddy? Neil Rutt, the third. Carson G. Giant Tommaso, Eric Lane, Roland D. Martino in seventh. Thomas Stan Neonis, I think I said that, and Michael Rising. They only had 9 cars for the sportsmen, but honestly, that's
and real quick too. I want. It's very thankful. Michael Rising's okay too. He took a wild ride on the front straightaway too. He got airborne and
didn't he ride the rail?
He rode the rail and he went down in the one, hit the wall. He actually had to take a little ride in the ambulance. He was pretty shaken up after the race. He pits right next to us. I mean, Nancy did talk to him after the race. He said his car wasn't that bad, but he said it shook him up pretty good and he wasn't feeling that well. So, Michael, hopefully you feel better now and you'll be back racing soon.
I was going to say 9 cars is kind of like an ideal car count for that division because that lets them get strung out a little bit and they tend not to wreck as much. Because what was it? We had the other race, the Cliff Kraus Memorial race. They started with what, 26 cars, and 14 of them dropped out. So between wrecks and attrition and everything. So I mean, when you get
these,
what
it is with the sportsmen. I don't blame the drivers or anything. The problem with that division is the cars are so equal because of the crate motor and the chassis everybody uses. They're so equal that they kind of gotta make moves you normally wouldn't make because you got to be aggressive to pass somebody there. And 9 times out of 10, you got to try to do it on a restart. You know what I'm saying? Like, because once you get single file and lined up in a line, it's hard for those guys to pass because the motors are so equal and the cars are so equal. I just think it's the cars. I'm not blaming the driver. I'm just saying the rules package, makes the car so equal. They have to bump somebody out of the way or throw it in there harder when they know that there's going to be contact if they want to pass. It's a hard division to pass in, so you got to be aggressive on the restarts and stuff. And I think that's what causes accidents in that division.
Right.
I'm going to sound like an old timer. What happened to the good old days when you were allowed to hit the guy 3 times in the bumper and then spit him out if he was in your leg?
Well, honestly, I don't know. I mean, how much contact? I mean, you as a fan, you want to see the contact. Not saying you want to see anybody get hurt or really destroyed, but having the whole rubbing is racing kind of thing. If somebody's tapping them, I mean that makes it exciting. Like, oh, he's there, and I don't know. I don't like it when they get turned. I like seeing if they're on your bumper coming out of the turn versus. I think anybody can ram you going into the turn. I think it takes a little more skill to ram them going out of the turn and spook them that you got more power, even if you don't. It's setting up your turn right, and it just gets in their minds. That's personal for me. That's my personal opinion.
Well, I was just kind of being silly, but then again, like you said, if say somebody's half a straightaway back and they run you down under green flag, they're obviously faster than you.
Yeah.
I
think you got to give them that. Give them the lane, give them the outside lane, make them go around the hard way. I'm okay with that. Yeah,
and the sad thing the same thing that's happening in the sportsman race too. They're starting to wreck themselves out of the division. They used to get full fields, and now they're down under 10 every week. It's because of the wrecks. You know what I'm saying? And then because of the wrecks, you're losing cars because they're getting tore up, and people can't afford to put them back together and come back. And then there's people like me. Why would I want to move up from the factory stock division to the sportsman division? Because they crash so much. Why would I invest my money into that? So no one's like moving into the division either. It's not appealing to people watching those races to build a race car to race in that division.
And kind of go ahead, Tim.
Simple. It's a simple fact too that Rob Orsby and Billy Cole can only fix so many race cars in a week. If there's 35 race cars broke, they can only fix so many of them.
Right.
Yeah.
Nobody works on their own race car.
I have an opportunity, not this weekend, but next weekend, to drive a sportsman, but I would have to buy tires to do it and bank them under my name, and it's $580 for the set. So, and it's a beautiful race car. I sat in, I fit good into it. It's a car that's definitely capable of winning. But then I look at it, I'm like, man, I'm going to spend $580 to put tires on this car, and I might wreck in a lap 1 or 2. You know what I'm saying? So,
well, if you ride around in the back and let everybody else wreck, and then go for it at the end.
If there's only 10 cars, you can't finish too bad.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still kicking the idea around, but with the tire bank and stuff, I got the tires go with the driver, so I got to buy at least 4 tires, and they're $580.
Can you get used ones from somebody else?
Yeah, but if I do it, I'm going to win. You know what I'm saying? I want new tires on the car.
See, for me,
$580, I can make a trip to New Hampshire and race an Enduro for that with that money. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not expecting myself to win anything, so I'd be like, all right, yeah, I'll do it I don't want to say as cheap as possible,
I
but
did the car Saturday. The car was there Saturday, and it's just they're like, sit in, make sure you fit in. It was the nicest race car I ever sat in my life. I'm like, oh my god, here's my shot to really drive.
Well, all the RPM podcast listeners always said Scott Riggle has never raced anything but a factory stock. Now's your chance to see him in a whatever SK car, I guess they call that thing.
Oh, we should do a poll on like Facebook. Do you want to see Scott in a sportsman?
It only costs
a lot more than factory stocks. I mean, I raced a full modified season at Wall Stadium. I raced the sportsman division at Wall Stadium 2 years. I won sport mod at Wall, Mountain Speedway when Wall closed. I ran the arch truck for years. But I just like the factory stocks. I really do.
Now, Scott, you wouldn't go to I was going to say you wouldn't go with the late models either, really, because they've had such low car counts. I mean, you kind of want, a bigger field to work with.
I wouldn't move into that division with my own car, but if someone offered me a ride, maybe like a Mike Tollett that has more than one late model, I'd drive a late model. I'd drive anything there. I mean, if Jimmy Blewett called me tomorrow and say, hey, man, my foot's broke and I can't race for a couple of years, you want to drive my modified, I'd jump right at it. It's a lot of times when people ask you to drive their cars, they want you at least to buy the tires, which is fair, but I just can't afford them.
I think it's more than if all you got to do is provide the tires and they're giving you a running car.
Yeah, I know it's a good deal. And if I was sitting here with no race cars of my own, I'd jump on any of those deals. I'd offer to pay for tires, but I'm already paying for tires for my race cars, my dirt cars, my asphalt cars.
Yeah, that's something a lot of people don't realize. Between you and Nancy, I mean, I know you're footing the bill there, and then the dirt cars, and all the traveling that you got to do between all the tracks.
I mean, just to go up the Big Diamond to race that 50-lap Enduro race, it cost me anywhere from $400 or $500.
Wow.
How did you win the championship there?
They don't do a points thing up there.
No.
Which is a shame, but I did. They had 5 last year, and I won all 5.
Who was second in Big Diamond?
Chris Garver. He's really good. He's like the Rich Monjo up there of the Enduros. He's won championships up there, and he's won a ton of races. But yeah, I did win all 5 races last year and 4 this year. So the 4 they had this year, I won this year too. Unfortunately, I had to miss Grandview though, which was sad. I hate these scheduling conflicts. They had an Enduro at Grandview too, scheduling the same. We went 5 weeks without an Enduro at Grandview or Big Diamond, and then they schedule a race on the same day. Yeah, I can't figure out why these tracks can't work together.
So which one did Lee Allen go to?
Lee was on a cruise this week, but he did race Bridgeport on Saturday. Okay. He got back on Friday, so he didn't from a cruise, so he didn't go up there. But yeah, it's just like I even called both these promoters and say, you guys realize you have a scheduling conflict? Yeah, but I was first. The other guy should change his, blah blah blah. And they both tell you the same story. It's like just someone's got to swallow their pride and be like, all right, I'll move my date. You know what I'm saying? Like we went 5 weeks without an Enduro, and then they booked on the same date. And it just
No,
hurts,
it's frustrating. Yeah, and it sucks.
Yeah.
All right, so real quick, the limited late model, we'll give it the RPM podcast top 7 here. I'm just being honest. Chris Silvestri, Joe Monjo, Shannon Monjo, Michelle Mormon, Andy Gamble, Mike Tollett, and Jim Mormon.
Well, Shannon Monjo didn't win. He was there. What happened there?
Yeah, I feel bad for Shannon and Rob. They're just killing them with penalties for winning so much. They got so much lead bolted on the right side of that car to slow him down. Yeah, every time he wins, they penalize him with more right side weight. And I just think it's to the point now where it's hard for him to overcome the penalties that the track's given him for winning so much.
That's the participation untrophy.
Yeah, I've been very vocal with that. I don't believe he should be penalized for winning. Maybe they'll just make him tow a boat trailer around behind him.
I don't like it either. I mean, it happened to me. And us remember 2012 when I was running all those factory stocks.
What'd you get, like 150 pounds added?
Yeah, by the time I was done, I was 150 pounds heavier than everybody. And that's when the cars, had the full trunk floors and all that stuff. Charlie Kremer was a tech official. He called me during the week. He's like, you got to add 100 pounds to your car. I'm like, oh, Jesus. I'm like, all right, whatever. I was really going to add, go and buy 100 pounds of watermelons and just throw them in the trunk and shut the trunk. And then I told him, I said, when I win, I'm going to sit in victory lane and eat watermelon out of my trunk. He's like, oh, it's got to be bolted down. It's got to be painted white. But I was literally just going to throw 100 pounds of watermelons in my trunk.
Who's the watermelon farmer?
Ross Chastain.
Yeah, that's what okay. That's all I had for Wall. Let me check.
I wanted to mention the what do you call it? The picture that was on the wall.
Oh, yeah, that's Facebook. Right. Whose mother was it?
Jeff Green's mom. Yes.
Yeah.
Diane.
Yeah, Tim, do you want to tell that story?
Yeah. Before I only read what I saw on Facebook, but apparently, she comes to races there. She actually, the Green family actually sits right next to my mom, and Scotty Archer's there, and JC Duvall. They all sit right there, and they always make sure that my mom's comfortable, and they always make sure, God forbid, if something happens to the girls, Jeff Green's girls are very aware of where my girls are, and they at least keep an eye on them. And Jeff's mom comes every week, and I guess she has getting harder and harder for her to walk down there because she's getting older. And there was a picture of Diane was physically herself helping her come down there. And the last I had looked, it had over 350 likes on social media. So it's just, one more thing that Diane's doing to, help the situation. And
Diane was carrying her little bag that she brings to the tracks and everything with her stuff in it, like her seat cushion and all that stuff. Diane was literally carrying her stuff and holding her arm, arm to arm with her, holding her, helping her walk. But if you ever met Jeff Green's mother, she loves racing. She loves talking racing. She is the grandmother of the DJ Tommaso kids in the sportsman car. That's Jeff Green's sister is their mother, so that makes her their grandmother. That's why she's there. She's there to watch her grandkids race every week. I actually sat with her at the banquet, the Wall Stadium banquet over the winter, and she just loves sitting there talking racing. She's like a true race fan and really enjoys it.
And I just want to say, Diane is like any human. She has flaws. We all do. But she gets a bad rap, and I've seen her do so many nice and thoughtful things. She's truly a caring person, and this is just another example of something very nice and sweet that she did to help somebody. And it's just tough. She does kind of a thankless job, and I know a lot of people would give her a hard time, but if you think about what her and the family are doing to keep the track going, and just honestly, they're good people. So hopefully other people can look at it and, even if they don't have a full change of heart, at least realize that she's not evil. I think she's a really, really sweet lady. So I just think it's just awesome that she did that. It's very sweet. So
it was a good thing. At the end of the day, you can't make everybody happy. You know what I'm saying? It's always, but they're doing a wonderful job. The crowd has, in the stands has showed it. And Hopefully it continues. Do you know what next week is going to be theme-wise?
I do not. I was
factory stocks are actually off next weekend, just to note.
Oh, I'll be at Riverhead next weekend. So.
I actually have a complete weekend off from racing. We're actually, if Florida is still there, we're actually flying out Thursday night to go to Florida for a couple of days.
Let's see. Jeff Gravatt just says that auto racing continues with the All-American Auto Group modified, blah, 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 blah. He doesn't have the thing. I have to go back to the website because I'm special. And hopefully I can pull it up real quick. I was actually pulling up the New Egypt and Bridgeport results so we can get that before Lee Allen yells at us.
Quick. What's this with the Bethel baked potato, Josh, on here?
Oh, that was a thing. There was a post. The Bethel Speedway had a really interesting baked potato that looked good. It was just going to be another food topic, but that was I think we've already
there's somebody that's on my Facebook page must enjoy eating at the racetrack as much as I do, that he's always posting different things from Bethel Speedway. And apparently the lady at Bethel Speedway takes very much pride in what she makes at her concession stand. And every week it seems to be something fresh and homemade. It's so apparently the food is good there. And somebody sent us something about the potato, right? Somebody sent us a link or something.
I think so.
Yeah.
All right, so this coming Saturday is going to be Retro Night. It's the second one this season because it's backed by popular demand. So they're going to do oldies music, classic food favorites. They're going to go through the decades, the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. And they're going to hula hoop on the racetrack at intermission.
There you go, Tim.
Unfortunately,
you won the limbo contest on Hawaiian night. Now you can win the hula hoop contest on Retro Night.
Unfortunately, my front stretch reign of circus acts will have to wait because I'll be at Riverhead this coming Saturday for the tour race.
Well, since you won't be at Walsingham this weekend, be at Riverhead. We'll put the challenge out there. Whoever wins the hula hoop contest has to go up against my brother when my brother is there.
I actually think I'm probably bigger than the hula hoop in the middle. I don't know if I can...
Well, it won't fall down on you, so you can't lose.
Yeah, just keep jiggling around.
I tell you what, even when I was a kid, I could never do the hula hoop. I could never get that thing to work. I could do it around my arm. I could never do it around my waist.
I can't either. I don't know. I can't snap my fingers or roll my tongue either. So I'm all sorts of special. Anyway, they're going to have modified sportsmen, twin 4-cylinders, and the legend cars will be there. So I just wanted to bring that up
Josh,
for Retro Night.
Let's do the top 10s of New Egypt and Bridgeport for Lee Allen. And let's move on with the show because it's 10:32 already.
Okay, so for New Egypt here, the first feature, I'm going to mention friend of the show, Chris Garback, finished 13th. Otherwise, the top 10 is going to be Billy Pouch Jr., Ryan Cratchin, David Van Horn, Brandon Grosso, Rich Rutsky, TJ Lilly, Mike Butler, Cale Ross, Blaine Braceland, and Danny Book. If I can get this to close, there we go. Why are there two feature ones? Okay, all right. And there we go. The second feature was Brian Spencer, Rich Meller, Al Cheney, no relation to Dick Cheney that I'm aware of, Dwayne Nixon, Heidi Hayden, Larry Drake, Eric Degler, Chase Leahy, Ken Niels, and John Bramall. Then for the third feature, Steve Davis, Jim Hausworth, John Crescione, David Burns, Ryan Heim, Jason Koch, Marty Resnick, Joseph Brown, Jimmy Amato, and Jim Hawks. And then the other feature here, fourth feature, which is listed as feature 2. I'm sorry, guys. David Van Horn, Mike Butler, Brandon Grosso, Billy Pouch Jr., Cale Ross, Rich Rutsky, Danny Book, Ryan Cratchin, Kevin Vaklavisic, and Billy Osman. And that will cover New Egypt. Now I'm going to back out of this, and I'm going to scroll down and narrate everything else I do in life. Bridgeport Speedway. Here we go. We have the 3 features and it looks like 2 powder puffs. Is that possible? So the first feature, Rich Stinson, Tom Wills Jr., Jeff Dirks, Brian Ludwig, Lee Allen. Hey, you lied. Justin Nolan, Ken Morum, Andrew Jocelyn, Nicky Sandone, and John Parker.
Now, Lee Allen was on a cruise, but he came home Friday, and he was able to race on Saturday, but he wasn't able to go to Big Diamond on Friday.
Okay. All right. I'll let it slide this time. I love you, Scott. So, second feature, Billy Pouch Sr., Wade Hendrickson, Roger Manning, Jimmy Horton, Jim Britt, Stan Frankenfield, Richie Pratt Jr., Sammy Martz, David Hunt, and Ryan Watt. And the third feature, Wayne Weaver, Sammy Martz Jr., Travis Hill, Steve Kemery, Matt Peck, Danny Bukafuska, I'm sorry, Jim Gallagher Jr., Tom Sherby, Rich Wegner Jr., Eric Corman. And let's see what goes on with the Powder Puffs here. Patty Thornton and Faye Lancaster. And was there a second Powder Puff? Yes, there was. Jody Moore, Courtney Pickens, and Wendy Sargent. I don't know if she's related
There's
to Dick
probably
Sargent.
two Powder Puffs because they probably did them two different types of race cars.
You're like a 4-cylinder and an 8-cylinder?
Yeah, something like that, or an outlaw stock and a sportsman or something like that. But, all right, cool. So that's the RPM podcast top 10 from our local racetracks. What have we learned today? I learned today that up in Oswego, they hate the French so much they don't have French fries. They eat tater tots. I learned that Tim can not go to the bathroom from 1 o'clock to 8:30 and sit in the grandstands and not come down.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's pretty impressive, Tim.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No, go ahead, Tim.
I didn't learn anything because most of the show was about IndyCar, and I didn't pay any attention to that.
You're sleeping through. Yeah, I Tim took a nap during our IndyCar segment.
It's not that bad, Tim.
That's terrible. They should just get rid of that. I just want to say prayers to all the people in Florida. That's a sensitive area to most of us, Daytona, New Smyrna. My mother-in-law owns a house there, so I hope that everything works out for her end of it.
And Myrtle Beach too. I mean, like they're looking at this thing going up and hitting Georgia and the Carolinas.
I was going to say working its way up, but there's a lot of good people in that area. I hope that everybody stays safe, and we'll see what happens with that. And I want to thank everybody. Scott just said I was up there. I want to thank everybody that bought me drinks and made sure I was okay up there. Good for that. And that's it, I guess. I was going to
make the trip to Oswego.
Did not. He's supposed to make the rest of them now. He's going to go from Riverhead and finish out the year every show, which I believe is 4 more. And going to thank Tommy and Tara Farrell for their hospitality and letting us stay overnight at their hotel, and Eric Flores for all he did while we were up there. Great time, Scott. You got to get up there. That's 100%.
I've been invited up there a few times.
It's 100% what you want to do. You would love to do it. Everything's all about you. Just what you're into. So that's it for me, I guess.
I wanted to mention we should do a podcast calendar. This idea was brought up to me by somebody else, and so we'll have.
By the time we get it out, the year would be over, Josh.
Oh no! Well, we could start and do it for the next year or whatever. So we'll get Tim a Speedo and.
The problem is there's only 3 of us who just.
Oh yeah, it's just going to keep repeating. They're going to see lots of us, different angles. Maybe Eric Brennan could hold a hot dog.
I don't think calendars work anymore because everybody has a calendar right on their phone.
I have my Bob Ross calendar right here. And I have another calendar in my fridge that actually holds our full schedule. Anyway.
Josh, we're lucky we get the podcast done. You think we're going to have time to make a calendar?
We still haven't done our conspiracy theory one yet.
Actually, we can work on that maybe tomorrow night, Tim.
And the only reason we have stickers to hand out is because one of our listeners gave them to us. We didn't do them.
I wish I am officially all out of
Yeah, I'm down to about 3 TJ Graves, so we need some more podcast stickers.
Have you been seeing him on race cars and stuff?
The race cars, and I see Rick Patterson has one on his truck. He has another one on a 4-cylinder they've been working on. Actually, a girl I went to high school with, Melissa, she's been going to the track a lot lately. She's been hanging out with Neil Rutt and them, and she put one on her car. So that's going out on the roads in like the Toms River Brick area, I believe. So yeah, they're getting out there. We just need more people to send us pictures, and people have been asking to come on the show, and we're more than happy to have guests or whatever. Just message us, and we'll get it together. Now that the holiday weekend's over with, we can hopefully schedule things a little bit better. We'll have more guests and everything coming up. But yeah, definitely more stickers. And actually, I still got to get on Sam. We had a whole podcast girl thing going on. I was going to make a nice banner with some of the girls wearing the podcast shirts and stuff on by the race cars. And Sam's just been dragging his feet because he's too busy living in a trailer and going to modified races.
Sounds like a good life.
Yeah, I'm making it like I'm angry, but I'm really jealous.
Yeah, Josh, what have you learned?
So today I learned that the fat seats were sold out at Darlington. I learned that Austin Dillon had Molly. I learned that AJ Foyt is arrogant anyway. I learned that Tommy Farrell has all the good stuff. And I learned that Tim is going to win the hula hoop contest.
No, he's not. He's giving up his crown to go to Riverhead.
But that's all I got for that.
All right, guys. Well, that wraps up episode 149 of the RPM podcast. And we will see you next Monday.
We're going to go cod fishing. Okay. Yeah, I'm tired. It's time for bed. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening. Please share. If you like it, comment wherever you see it, whether it be Facebook, YouTube, any of that. And share it with your friends. Force them to listen. Get more people involved. And we're going to talk to TJ and, waterboard him till he makes us more stickers or something. Sound good?
All right. Good night, everybody. Go to wall.
Go to wall.